Welcome back to my trainings. Now, if you have ever said the words, I know what I need to do, I just can't do it, and it feels like a trap, like you are always going to fail or always going to give up or always going to do the things that you said that you promised yourself that you weren't going to do, I want you to watch this video. This video is made for you because I'm going to explain exactly why this behavior has got nothing to do with you being lazy, nothing to do with this willpower or not wanting weight loss enough. And I want to share with you exactly what is keeping you stuck in that pattern of rinse and repeat. So every single time you start to make progress, you fall off track. So I'm going to share with you exactly what that is today. But first, I want you to do something. I want you to think about the last time you said to yourself, I know what I need to do, so why am I not doing it? Maybe it's an experience that you can already think of the last time that you took that action that you promised yourself you wasn't going to do it again. Maybe it was last Sunday night when you told yourself this week would be different. Right? Maybe it was when you were standing in front of the fridge at 9 p.m. reaching for something that you didn't actually need. Maybe it's kind of a quiet nagging feeling for the last couple of months or even years. Women think that this is a trait, like they're inherently lazy, or they think that they are uniquely broken, right? Like they are different to every other woman on the planet. Sadly and happily, fortunately and unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. And you don't have a willpower problem either, okay? What you might be struggling with is the motivational triad. And I want to offer you the thought that you just have a brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. So the problem is we take our failures so freaking personally. We see failing, falling off the wagon, making a mistake, screwing up, going against our promises. We see that as a problem, not as how we are actually wired, right? If we saw it as, well, there's a problem that I have 2 legs and 2 arms, you're going to see it as a problem. We see our mistakes and the times that we don't take the action that we wanted to take as a problem. But when you understand that this is literally the way that your brain is wired, it makes following through and being less judgmental far easier. And it doesn't mean that you have to fall off the wagon or get back on a wagon, because when you understand how your brain is wired and how you are designed to take these actions and behaviors, it makes your weight loss journey far smoother, which makes it far faster. Okay, so what is the motivational triad? There is a concept in neuroscience and behavioral psychology called this motivational triad, and it basically describes the 3 core drivers that our brain uses to keep us alive, right? And I mean that literally. We have to remember that our brains aren't wired for 2026, the life that we live, the convenience that we live at, the pleasures, the instant gratification. Our brains and our bodies are not wired to live in today's society, right? Our nervous system can't handle the amount of stresses and tasks and responsibilities that we're supposed to have. So when we think about our behavior and the way that our brain works, we have to think of, from an evolutionary standpoint, the way that we operate is still in that survival mode. Like we are still operating from the fact that this one thing or that thing could kill us. Our brains aren't going to be able to distinguish between getting stuck in traffic and being yelled at by your boss, and maybe even being fired from your job, versus literal death, versus being eaten alive. Unfortunately, our brains are not wired that way. So we are still operating on that old software, if you want to call it, okay? And this is the way that it is designed to take action. So when I say take action, think of motivation. You have a motivation to take an action, or you feel the motivation to take an action. You feel a desire to do something. And that desire is wired within us to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. right? You've got to think about seeking pleasure. Our brain will always seek out the things that are fun, enjoyable, so that we could procreate, so we could keep making more and more humans because sex is pleasurable, to avoid pain because pain meant usually death, and to conserve energy because if you run out of energy, then you will then face death, right? So your brain is constantly, relentlessly doing these three things. It's constantly scanning for what is pleasurable, what is going to avoid pain, what is pain, where is pain, how can I avoid it, how can I conserve as much energy as possible. Now, it's not a conscious choice that you're making, right? 96% of our actions come from our subconscious part of our brain. So it's not even something that you are actively choosing. It's not something that you can just trust yourself to make a change or take a different action either, right? So this is why when we sit and hope that the next time is different, that is a broken method to rely on, because it's not going to be different if you don't take real action and you don't really highlight and pull up to the surface these actions, which you have to do consciously because it's coming from a subconscious place. So just trusting yourself that you'll do it differently is not going to work with the way that you're wired. So the problem with that wiring is, like I said, we live in 2026. The modern world that we live in has hacked all three of these driving forces, the motivation for us to take action, in ways that our brain was never equipped to handle. So you've got to think that ultra processed food is engineered, it is literally created and manufactured to create a dopamine hit in the way that eating whole foods would never ever be able to compete with, right? Gambling will create that dopamine hit that exercise could never ever actually reach, right? Things like alcohol and gambling and sex, these things that we're addicted to, not a lot of people are addicted to natural stuff. The thing is, convenience foods means effort has been removed from the equation almost entirely. And your sofa at the end of a long day is the single most energy conserving option available to you, right? So think about how easy it is. You're conserving least amount of energy to get the most amount of calories and the most amount of dopamine, which is seeking pleasure. And sitting on your sofa is also the least painful, most energy conserving, most comfortable place possible for you to sit at the end of a long day. So when you reach for the biscuits or the ice cream after dinner, it's not really a you problem, it's a brain thing, right? Your brain is doing its job perfectly. It found pleasure. It avoided the pain and discomfort of maybe sitting through a craving or saying no to some food, because that's discomfort. It said no to getting up and doing the dishes because that requires energy, right? So it's going to attach to all three of those driving forces. So the issue is, what kept us alive on this planet is not what's going to get you the results in today's world. And nobody's talking about this. Everyone's saying you just need to be more disciplined, and you're lying if you're not losing weight, and you just need this and you need that, right? But what about the fact that you are literally wired to find the easiest, the most comfortable, and the laziest way possible? So why is knowing better never actually going to get you any results, right? I think this is the part that really is important to hear. I want you to ask yourself, how many times have you known exactly what you should be doing, but done the opposite way anyway? Most of us do that, right? When we are taking an action that is aligned with our old self, not our future self, so the habits that you already do, not the habits that you want to adopt, we usually kind of know, right? We usually go, this isn't part of my plan, I'll start tomorrow, or, oh, fuck it, well, I've done it anyway, right? We kind of sit in that, oh, I already know. And so you continue to take that action, whether you've decided that you've already screwed it, or you're halfway through, so it's too late to stop now. You read books, you watch videos, you might have joined a program, you might have counted calories, you have information, but in the moment it feels like gravity has just gone up tenfold and you feel so stuck in that moment, so compelled to either continue taking that action or even start that action that you know that you don't want to do. This is why. And that's because your brain is operating that logical part of the brain, that part that says, hey, I know that I want to do this, and that subconscious part of the brain that says, make sure that whatever you're doing is pleasurable, it avoids pain, and it's going to conserve the least amount of energy, right? You've got your subconscious force, driving force of telling you that you need to be taking these actions that are aligned with this driving force, right? But then you've got the logical part of your brain going, I don't think I should be doing this. So the first part of, there's two parts to this. The first part of that is the prefrontal cortex, that's your logical part of your brain. That's the rationing part of your brain. It's the planning part of your brain. That is the part of your brain that you're using when you set the intention on a Sunday night saying this week is going to be different. I know that vegetables are better than potato chips. I know that I should not grab some snacks or not grab a drive-through on my way home from work. But then you have your limbic system. This is almost like the part of your subconscious brain. This is your emotional brain, your habitual brain, your survival brain. So this is the ancient bit of your brain, and it reacts before your logical brain has even had a moment to say, hang on a second, this is not what I want to do, right? Your subconscious brain will act for you, for your logical part of your brain. So by 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night, when you're tired from work and maybe the kids have been at you in the evening and dinner didn't quite go to plan, you might have burnt the pizza, right? There's a part of your brain that is literally running on fumes, and your limbic system takes over and it says, hey, we don't give a shit about our goals right now because you are in a state of emergency. You need to sort your shit out right now because you are not feeling good. And so your brain takes over and it says, you need to feel good now. And the only thing that it knows how to resolve that is with food, because we've trained it that when we have food, that makes us feel good. It makes us feel good in the moment. But your brain doesn't really think about the latter part of that. It doesn't think about all of the time and the shame and the judgment and the guilt and the shit that you sit in and the judgment that you sit in from taking that action, right? It just says what's going to create an instant relief. Okay? So you've been thinking it's a you problem, but it's actually just the way that brains are wired. And in my program, the clients who get results aren't the ones who rely on willpower every single day, right? They're the ones who set up that version of themselves who's tired, who's exhausted, in a way that she can't make the same choices that she's always made. She can't default to what she's always done. So when we utilize and leverage the motivational triad, we make it far easier for us to stop fighting ourselves, to stop that pull, almost like that gravitational pull to keep doing the actions that you've already done. We stop that and we interrupt that pattern. So how do we do this, right? So if your brain is motivated by pleasure, motivated to avoid pain, and motivated to conserve as much energy as possible, we want to leverage this so that you can follow through on your choices, that you want to follow through on your choices, instead of using them as the reason that you don't follow through on the choices that you want to make. So how do we do this? Let's take pleasure as the first one, right? You want to make the healthy choice feel pleasurable. So your brain will always move towards what feels good. So instead of trying to make yourself want the salad more than pizza, change what feels good about having the salad over the pizza, right? If you always call pizza or cookies or chips a treat, you'll learn that the only way that you get pleasure and get a treat and get a break and get a rest is with food, right? So you've got to recognize that where are you putting that feeling? Are you putting that feeling on the food, or are you putting that feeling on the actual rest, on a health-giving, health-promoting activity as opposed to one with food. So we've got to design a life where healthy choices are pleasurable. You want to adopt them because they feel pleasurable. But the unhealthy habits, the unhealthy choices feel unpleasurable to fulfill, right? So you can play your favorite guilty pleasure audiobook while batch cooking meals to make that activity feel fun. You can binge Netflix while you're on the treadmill to make that activity feel fun. You can stop running alone and find an exercise class that might bring you joy, or exercise with people as a bonus, as a social bonus, right? I used to go to calisthenics classes on a Saturday, not because I needed the workout, because I'd already done 5 workouts that week, but because I enjoyed the social life to it, right? So it actually got me exercising on the days that I didn't want to exercise because I'd already done 5 workouts. And the social life of it really motivated me and encouraged me to go. So your brain will show up for what's pleasurable. So you've got to associate the things that you don't find pleasurable. Otherwise, you are consistently trying to show up for something that you think is a punishment. So the second way that we can leverage the motivational triad is make a gap between you and the unhealthy choice. And we need to make that gap as wide as possible. And we can do this by making it feel really exhausting to do the thing that you don't want to do. So your brain wants to conserve energy all the time, right? It will always take the lazy path, the path of least resistance where possible. Think about it, right? You'll get a Deliveroo or a drive-through instead of cooking food, right? So the trick is making the path of least resistance the one that actually serves you. You want to make the healthy choices as easy as possible and the unhealthy choices as difficult as possible. So very simple one. If the biscuits are in the cupboard, or they're out on the side, or they're in a biscuit tin on the top of your kitchen counter, your brain only has to walk 5 steps to get them. If fruit is cut up in the fridge and it's at eye level, your brain has an equal, easy option that doesn't undo your progress. Perfect example of this was today, right? I wanted to go and get chocolate from the shop, but we had jelly and fruit that we made, and it was already made in the fridge. So what did I do? I had the jelly and fruit because I didn't want to go to the shop to go and get chocolate because I don't keep it in the house. If I want foods that are not aligned with my goals or aligned with the person that I want to be, I have to increase the resistance to go and get them because I am lazy as hell and I don't want to go all the way to the shop to go and get some chocolate. It's not worth it. That to me is not worth it. If it was 5 steps to the kitchen to grab it out the counter, it would be worth it. So this is called environmental design. You want to make sure that results are inevitable when your motivation has fucked off, right? I've never met a woman who was motivated every single day of her life. But the ones who do get results every single day of their lives, like myself and my clients, we build an environment so that the default choices are healthy and supportive choices. And the last thing that we can do is use the motivational triad to avoid pain, and we can leverage this by turning it around on your unhealthy habits. So if eating healthily feels like restriction to you, if it feels like punishment, or if it feels like deprivation, your brain is going to want to resist. We don't like to be told what to do as adults. Diets will fail for so many reasons, but mainly because they just have so many rules and they tell you that you can and can't do stuff, that restriction just feels hard, it feels difficult, and it feels bad. So your brain will see healthy as pain to avoid, right? And that's going to work against you at every given opportunity. So you can reframe this in your mind to say, well, eating well is an act of caring for myself. I'm not punishing myself. I get to eat whatever food that I want. I am always in control around food. Food is abundant. Food is satisfying. Food is nourishing. I am not restricted. I am choosing. They are a completely different instruction to your brain. So you can switch the motivational triad around so that you stop feeling like you are in constant pain along the way. I had a client, Bryony, she came to me totally stuck, and she wasn't new to trying to eat healthy. She tried calorie counting and fasting and all of the diets. But she was frustrated because she felt like she was doing all of the things that she should be doing, but she wasn't getting the results. Her weight had plateaued for 5 years, and she was struggling so much that she was getting a lot of health tests done, and she was hoping that there was something intrinsically wrong with her to explain why every single time she started, after a few days or a few weeks would go by, she would fall off the wagon and feel like she'd completely blown it. Nothing was sticking. And so because nothing was sticking and nothing was lasting, it felt crap. And she felt crap. And she was stuck in this cycle. She got to a point where weight and inflammation were up, right? She felt puffy. She was really struggling with her health. And she really did hope that something was actually wrong. But it wasn't. And so when she came to me, she said, Bianca, I am really struggling. But what we did over 6 months is we looked at many different pieces of the puzzle. We built a body that was working for her. We then started looking at social boundaries, personal boundaries, expectations, the way that she approached life, the way that she saw pleasure in taking healthy habits, the way that she avoided pain and increased the pain of not changing. We changed the way that she perceived pain. We also made the unhealthy habits really difficult for her. So we leveraged the motivational triad to really work in a way that worked for her lifestyle and had her feeling super motivated to take the actions that she wanted to take. And after 6 months, she started losing weight. She lost 10 pounds. Her energy came back so much so that she stopped napping during the weekdays, and she's exercising every single day, and she's absolutely loving it. Her periods have come back. They're like clockwork, and so many other amazing things have come from this transformation for her. I think the biggest thing is that she's been able to keep her social life and leverage the motivational triad to take the action that she wants to and not take the action that she doesn't want to, and make that easy rather than feeling like she's being suckered down and by gravity or this pull, this desire to keep doing the same actions and the same behaviors that she always has done. So the reason why you've struggled keeping the results and choosing the healthy options is probably not because you're lazy, probably not because you lack discipline or desire. Hey, you might do. You might be super freaking lazy. You might absolutely lack every ounce of self-discipline or desire to even lose weight. However, if that feels like, I don't actually think that's me, but I'm still feeling really stuck, and you've been trying to apply your own logic to neuroscience, then you are going to feel stuck. So the motivational triad is just one of many tools that we utilize in my health and weight loss program, because when you work with your brain by understanding how and why we are motivated to take specific action, be it healthy or unhealthy, understanding the motivational triad will help you stop feeling like you're actually freaking broken, and it gives you a clear chance for weight loss to succeed, not only succeed, but become easy, not feeling like a daily uphill battle. Because you can have all of the perfect meal plans available to you, you can be a master of your emotions and stress, but if you don't know why you're not taking action or constantly choose against taking the healthy and helpful behaviors, you're going to keep feeling like you're going back to square one. And you probably are going back to square one because you're not utilizing the way that your brain is wired. So it's always going to feel like you're trying to defy gravity. You can't defy gravity. You can't outrun neuroscience. You can't run away from your brain. You can change the way that your brain sees things, perceives things. You can find evidence in things. You can change. You can absolutely rewire the brain. That's why neuroplasticity is a thing, right? That's why it's a thing. We absolutely can change, but you can't change that if you don't know what you're looking for. So if you're sick of running around in circles, if you're stuck on that hamster wheel, if you keep chasing your tail, if you keep making the decision that this time is different and this time you're going to do it because you feel motivated, but then you drop off a couple of days, a couple of weeks after, then what is going to change? Nothing will change unless something changes. So book a quick chat with me, see if we're a good fit for one another. If not, I'll send you some resources or point you in the direction that will be the most helpful for you. If we do feel like we're the right fit, we will then discuss what your next options could look like. So if that sounds like something for you, book a tea break with me, just a free 15-minute slot, and I'll link the link below. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can catch the next trainings. And hopefully this was really helpful for you guys. So I'll catch you very soon.